So, hello there everyone and welcome, it is Niran here, and today it is time for me to bring you another video looking ahead towards FIFA 19 career mode, and today I'm going to be bringing you a set of challenges and ways in which you can improve your career modes and make them a little bit more interesting with rules and stuff, and just different types of career mode saves that you can do that are just a bit more different to your usual bog standard, sign with a new team, bring in some young players and then go from there and dominate. The ideas in this video will give you a bit more of a challenge or just a bit of a different feel to what you're usually used to. Now if you go on to enjoy the video, then of course feel free to slap a like on it and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And I want to say a massive thank you to One Football for sponsoring this video. As I always say, it is a football news and results app. You can check out all to do with your favourite clubs on this app. For me, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I go on to I follow Liverpool, so I get like push notifications whenever we sign someone or whenever there's a change in one of our results on a Premier League day. If you want to check it out, there's a link in the description below and all of that good stuff. So we're starting off then with the first challenge, the first type of career mode that you can do on FIFA 19, and it's called the Bankruptcy Challenge. Now, I did a similar video to this last year where I talked about this idea, but I'll give it to you again. I will warn you, there's different ones compared to the one from last year, but this is a surviving one because I just think it's really quite a cool idea, and personally I would quite like to do it actually for a series. The premise of this is, I suppose, let's just imagine this. The backstory is that you're with a wealthy team and somehow you've managed to break financial fair play rules, or whatever, you've overspent, the owners have decided they're going to pull the plug and they're not pumping money into the club anymore. Eventually, it leads to bankruptcy, and this is the point at which you take over. What you've got to do is sell your best assets, maybe sell your top 10 rated players in the team. So for example, your Paris Saint-Germain, you're getting rid of Neymar, you're getting rid of Mbappe, you're getting rid of Thiago Silva, etc, etc. Players on big wages and on big money to try and help you out in this situation, but obviously that money is usually spent to recoup debts and to get out of the red when it comes to bankruptcy, so you're not going to see that in your transfer budget. So that money that you then get from those big 10 players, you've got to drain. You've got to get rid of all of your cash. I'm talking £0. £0 in transfer budget, £0 in wages if your board will allow it. If you have to have a certain amount of money at the end of the season, then okay, leave it at £2 million, but try and get it to £0 if possible. You can do that by signing a player for all the money that you have, who is well below, who's worth like basically nothing. Scout a player from the Irish League or something, sign them for like 100 million or 200 million pounds, and then release them straight away. If it's possible to relegate the club without getting sacked as well, then feel free to do that, but I realise the board, obviously for obvious reasons, can be a little bit sketchy when it comes to that, and you might well get sacked. If that is the case, then don't do it, just stay in the league that you're in and try and avoid that. But the board are quite okay with the board are quite lenient, I think, on FIFA usually, so you might get sacked, you might not, but if you are going to get sacked, then obviously just stay in that division and then build your way up. It becomes a road to glory with a previously wealthy side like a Manchester United, like a Paris Saint-Germain, or whatever other team has been taken over in recent years and has become very affluent. Now the next one, number 2, was made popular by a man called Docs, or a YouTuber called Docs. If you want to go and check him out, then you can check out a link in the description below to go and see his channel. But it's called Club and Country, a bit of a requested one from the comments from last year's video. And the premise of this one is you take a club in any country. So if you want to go for France, then that's absolutely fine. So you might start one with Paris FC, for example, down in Ligue 2, and want to do a road to glory. You're only allowed to use players from that specific country. So you are only allowed to use French players, whether it be regens or youth academy players, they are also included, but only real life French players or regen French players. And you then try to guide them to glory. And on top of that, you also try and guide the national team to glory as well. So in this instance, you try and win the Ligue 1 with Paris FC, and you try and win the World Cup with France, hence Club and Country. It's a nice little variant on a road to glory, and it's one of the few in this video that will also include international management as well. Number 3, we've got the Accepting Every Offer Challenge. This was one created by Jared HD, so yet another YouTuber you can check out down in the description below. And this one is exactly what it says on the tin. You've got to accept every single offer that comes your way. If you're managing Barcelona, you've got to accept that offer for Lionel Messi or for whoever else is in your side, and then it's up to you to replace them, but you're not allowed to counter. I don't think you're even allowed to counter for offers, so it's a very harsh reality, is the accepting every transfer challenge, but it's, with that, it's a very difficult challenge to pull off, and one that I would definitely suggest trying at some point during the game cycle. The fourth one is youth only. That includes regens and youth academy players, but in essence, you are only allowed to use generated players in this career mode save. You can give yourself 1 season to transfer or sort of like go between having a real life team and then having a team of youth academy players. That's absolutely fine. You're not going to have 25 youth academy players right at the start of a career mode save. It's practically impossible. So you can give yourself that 1 transition season. That's absolutely fine. But say from season 2, whatever youth academy you've managed to build up, whatever regens you've been able to find, that is what you've got to go for. Traditionally done with a Road to Glory side, so you can start off in the German 3rd tier or the English 4th tier or the French 2nd tier. You can't really use a big team for this, or I suppose you can do if you want. You probably have to relegate them first because it's meant to be a Road to Glory, but it's one that's really, really interesting, and it gives a different dynamic using youth academy players as well, because you can build up really cool storylines with them and sort of have a bit of a closer bond with them than real life players, I guess. It's quite an interesting one, and it's been made popular by the likes of Kutsi, Bama Striker, and also Sparring DK. So once again, check out all of their links down in the description below. We're over the halfway stage, and now we've got Senior Stars, which was quite nicely put in the comment section last time. A little bit of alliteration there, which is nice to see. And this one again is pretty self-explanatory. You're only allowed to use players above a certain age, and it probably have to be about 29 or potentially even 30. And it's very different to the usual career mode, because obviously the usual career mode is you sign young players with high potential for cheap at the start, but with this one you're only allowed to buy players in their prime or of course slightly past it. In direct contrast to that, the next one is youngsters only. So as opposed to having old players and that is it, this time you've got young players and that is it. Set any sort of age cap you would like. If you want it to be a slightly easier series, then you can go for slightly higher, like 25 or 26, but if you want to make it really difficult for yourself and make transfers flow on a really consistent basis throughout the entire series, or save rather, what you want to do is set it at about 22 or 23, and every single time you've got a player who goes above that age, you've got to sell them in the next transfer window. It means you've probably got to make about 10 signings pretty much every single season, but then it's all about trying to train them to a good overall as early as you physically can, to then either drain as much money out of them as possible when you go on to sell them, or to make them as good as possible so you can challenge for a title or European Cup in that particular season. A lot of strategy involved, a lot of signings involved, and one that keeps you on your toes and very busy. The penultimate one is your rebuild. Now, in essence, this is kind of similar to what you would do in your traditional saves, or sometimes, I mean, it depends how impatient you are, but some people do tend to sim pretty much every single game in a save. But what this is obviously it was, I mean, if you don't know by now, this was created by Jared, then where have you actually been on FIFA YouTube in the last 3 years? Like, again, link in the description below to Jared HD, but the actual essence of this series is to usually take a side that you can do a Road to Glory with, but you can also do it with bigger teams as well. It's just a slightly shorter save maybe, and what you do is you sim through as many seasons as is required, signing all the players that you want, and obviously going through signings in your usual way, no real rules on that one, as long as you're maybe buying young players that'll grow in the future. And then you try and get this team to a Champions League final, and when you eventually do, you play that final. You're not allowed to play any game before that. So if you're struggling, you can't intervene, you cannot get involved, you can't stop your team from getting relegated. If it happens, it happens. You're just going to have to get promoted again. It's almost like Football Manager in that sense, apart from you eventually get the glory by playing the Champions League final and hopefully winning it, and that then is where the save ends. A really cool idea, and one that really focuses on transfers more than having to play against a slightly boring AI. And your final one is financial troubles. This one is, I suppose, similar to bankruptcy, but not quite as severe. However, it is a lot more long-lasting. You can put a cap on how long the financial troubles last for. If you want to make it last for 3 seasons or 4 seasons or maybe even 5, that's brilliant. But what it is basically there's a cap on the amount of spending you can do per season or per transfer window. You can maybe only cap yourself to £5 million per transfer window. Like is sort of a situation over at Newcastle where you can pretty much tell there's a set limit to what they can spend every single transfer window. Whether if you want to make it slightly easier, you can make it 10, but if you want to make it a lot more difficult for yourself, make it 5 in a top tier. If you're going for a road to glory, then you might want to cap it at something ridiculous like 200k to make it really, really difficult for yourself. And then it's about trying to get through that, fight through that financial stage, and eventually when the prize money starts flooding in, then you can start spending money like you would usually do on a career mode save. That though is going to round up the 8 challenges that you can do on FIFA 19 career mode to make this game a little bit more entertaining and exciting. If you enjoyed that video though, feel free to slap a like on it, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. It's the big red button under the video and it really helps me out if you go ahead and press that one. You can also follow me on social media these days too. My Twitter and Insta are at @theofficialfng, and once again, a massive thank you to OneFootball for sponsoring this video. It has been a pleasure ranting at you guys today though. Have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.